Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another edition of Hilaal Live. My name is Luqman Shadrack, all the way from the Cape Town studios. Thanks for joining us on Channel 347. Remember, you can also live stream on www.hilal.tv. As we do, we continue our Soul series on a Wednesday. Back in studio, Fadwa Booley. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Shukr so much for coming back into studio. It's been a while.
Afwan.
We've had other pressing issues taking precedent. But we continue with the Soul series. And a topic today, and we've alluded to this in the past as well, when one goes through life, you reach a point in your life where there's a certain type of feeling that comes over you. There's a certain type of calling. Well, let's call it, you call it the calling. Right? How do we get this epiphany? Is it through our interaction with people? Is it our time in our life? Is it our job? What drives us when we have this epiphany to go into something very special?
So, something very special can also means the vocation that you're going to choose.
Okay.
So it goes through different stages in your life. You first go through the calling when you're a teenager. What do you want to be one day when you're older?
Fireman, policeman,
Yes.
we all say that. Yeah.
So when a new client comes to me and they're struggling with that concept, I usually ask them the question, what do you want to be between the age of 7 and 14 years old? Because that is your truest calling.
Okay.
Right. That will show you what you want, how you're going to represent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here on earth, because that's your pure soul. That is no ego. There's no ego there yet, right? And then you're going to go through your 20s. Sometimes you follow that calling. I did, because I wanted to be this fashion designer from the age of, all that I can remember was to sew and to do patterns and those things. And then I followed that calling. Then you go through your 20s, and then you find something else, and something else sparks your interest, and you go on that journey. But sometimes the calling brings you back to the original one, or takes you on another path. So when I finished my fashion designing, I was in my 20s, I was married, and my son was still little. All of a sudden I heard this voice. So the voices will come. They will come voices, will become signs. I usually say when I see something more than 3 times, I need to do that. Whether it's a book cover that I see a post of something, or place I need to travel, something will pop up more than 3 times. And it'll say, okay, I will ask myself this question. But because I go with the flow, and then I usually go with that flow. And then I'll give an example. I finished fashion designing, and I worked with my father as his PA, and I used to sew and do designing on the side for private clients. And then one day I just heard that voice. The voice just came in, and it said, you need to be a reflexologist. Like a whisper, right? You need to be a reflexologist. And I knew nothing about reflexology. So this is usually my opening when I give any talk, and telling people how I got into the healing field. And I started researching, because now this voice was intriguing me. It was so clear. It was clear. So you'll get either, like I said, you'll read something over and over again, or hear that voice. So I usually tell people, don't ignore that voice. That voice is there for a reason. It's your inner self telling you, or some people say your higher self. It could be an angel whispering to you. We don't know, but the voice will be crystal clear. And once you start following it, you should just go with that flow. And usually the thing comes up is the finances. How do I study this? Where am I going to get money? Because that was my situation. I never had money to study. And my husband was studying at the time, and my father's business wasn't as great as it was before. And I was thinking, how do I get this money? Where can I get a bursary? Because I didn't know how bursaries work. But I knew I had to honor the calling. Because now the calling is, you need to be this reflexologist. I knew nothing about it. All I knew, it had something to do with the feet and to do with healing. And then as I just went with that, I got a sponsor basically for the first year. And one day I was sitting and I said, do you perhaps know where I can get a bursary? And he said, what do you want to study? I said, reflexology. And he said, what is that? I said, I don't know. It has something to do with the feet. And then he said, how much is it? And at the time, the deposit was 8,000 Rand, and the full course was 18,000 Rand for the year. And I'm talking, this was in 2006. And then he said, enroll, I'll pay. And I just sat there and I looked. Now, here's the thing I tell lots of my clients, right? If there's a why, if we know your why, the how falls into place. When it's a calling and there is no money, you need to trust it. And Allah just says, just take the first step. All you do is take the first step. I did inquiries, and next minute, my entire year's fees got paid.
Amazing.
Then I phoned my mother from the car and I said, guess what? I'm going to study. And the rest is history. So from listening to that voice, I'm now so well trained in my field not only am I a therapeutic reflexologist, I'm also a kinesiologist, applied kinesiologist, specialized kinesiologist, spiritual coach. So the journey just started in 2005 and I'm still studying.
So it's almost a bit of a light bulb moment that comes on. We're all unique. We all have a different type of skill set that for whatever reason we specialize and resonate towards that as well. And it must have been a weight off your shoulders as well, knowing that you now have an opportunity to pursue this career.
It was daunting because as I entered this healing field, I wasn't really exposed that I'm back, coming out of apartheid. We weren't really exposed to being in a class full of white-skinned people, right? And my entire class, we were probably only like 3 or 4 colors in the class. The entire college was basically white. So I embarked this journey, and then I got to know different people. So it was something new, fascinating. Yes, a weight was off my shoulders financially, but now I thought, how can I actually do this? Because my baby at the time, Fayad, my eldest, was 1.5 years old. And I was a mother thinking that I can't do this, I'm too old. So lots of people give up on their dreams because they think they are too old. And then I said, don't give up on your dream ever. You get some people that qualifies and finish their degrees or doctorates or masters at the age of 70, 80 years old.
Absolutely. I met someone not too long ago, 82 years old, took on a psychology degree.
Oh,
82
amazing.
years old, and I was dumbstruck, and I was like such an overachiever. What am I doing with my life? You start looking at your life and thinking, you need to do something as well. What are some of the common questions when your clients go through this phase, when they go through this questioning, when they go through this, inquiry? What are some of the common questions? There's a lot of doubt that comes in there.
Yes. First thing, why me? Why does it have to happen to me now? I'm this age. I can't.
And it's a niggling feeling that you want to pursue, right?
Yes, because you feel excited when you think about it, but then the fear sets in and you think, I'm married, or I'm not married, or I have children, or I don't have children. Where am I going to get the time? My work and my life is so demanding. But you see, once you go and follow that calling, you're going to find it's going to flow. You see, most of us, what we do is we swim upstream in life. And if you picture an analogy of swimming upstream, if you're not going with the flow, what happens?
It's tough.
Exhaustion, right? Because you're not going with that flow. So you're in the stream or the river and the tide is coming. But now you're on this comfortable rock. Let's do an example. You're on this comfortable rock and you get washed away. But you want to swim back to that rock. But Allah's trying to tell you there's a more comfortable rock further down, a bigger one and much more comfortable. Just go with my flow. But what we do is we tend to turn around and want to swim to get there, and the tide is pushing us and we make ourselves exhausted.
Okay. We're going to open up the WhatsApp line as well. You're welcome to communicate with us. If you find this topic intriguing to you, if you have a question for Fadwa, you're more than welcome to WhatsApp us, 079 085 2511. Send us your thoughts, questions, queries, comments. We welcome them. And maybe you are experiencing something like this right now in your life. So Fadwa is in studio, and I'm sure she can be of assistance with answering some of those questions as well. I think one of the biggest fears and maybe biggest hurdles is what society is going to think about you. Remember, as a Muslim woman, Muslim man, whatever, Muslim adolescents, we often tend to worry about what society thinks about our path that we're going down, whatever it is, family, career, scholastic environment. Does that play a huge role in your clients' lives as well?
Yes. So the first thing I tell them to do is write the statement, so the viewers can write the statement. What people think and say of me is none of my business. Right. I would say print it out and put it on your visor in your car, put it on your mirror, in your bathroom, wherever you go. It is difficult because we're raised in a society. What will people think and say?
And we grew up in this society to be courteous, to be respectful, all of that.
Yes. So you see, the thing is, this is where Allah's going to test us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test us to say, are you listening to me or are you going to listen to society? Reflexology from fashion designing is poles apart. Yeah. Because on the one side, I'm handling the inside of the body and soul. On the other hand, I'm dressing up the body. So I
would have gone to making socks for feet, but okay.
You know what I mean? That's a good idea, actually. There's an opportunity for you. So the thing was, it was poles apart. Because here we're focusing on beauty, which relates to ego, which relates to narcissism, because I want to look good, I want to feel good.
That's also true.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you got healing, let's heal the point of me that feels I need to do it for the outside world. You see how it works hand in hand today. Today I'm running both businesses.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing my fashion designing. I'm still doing it. I mean, this what I'm wearing is one of my products.
Brilliant.
So I am still doing it. I've got my own label, but it only came years later. So when I thought I gave up fashion designing, Allah came and knocked on my shoulder again. 20 years later, after I completed
You're not
it,
done.
you're not done yet. Opulence came up. So it was like, okay, here we go again. Let's follow this path.
Yeah.
So because I listen to my intuition and because I go with the flow of life and I'm not resisting that flow anymore, that flow is going to take you to where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take you, because you won't end up anywhere if it wasn't written for you.
That's so true.
So when society comes with a judgment, then I say, don't take it up with me, take it up with Allah. If you're upset with what I'm doing, why are you worrying about my life?
For sure.
You know?
We're chatting to Fadwa Booley on the Soul series. The WhatsApp line's open if you'd like to communicate with us. We're chatting about that very special niggly voice that you get in your head, or that gut feeling, or maybe family members, driving you to follow your path and follow your dreams, if for a lack of better words. 079 085 2511. Communicate with us. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll pose those questions to Fadwa. You are still watching Hilaal Live. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Hilaal Live from the Cape Town studios. My name's Luqman Shadrack. In studio, Fadwa Booley on the Soul series. We're chatting about your calling and your purpose in life when that very special moment happens where you are pushed towards pursuing that calling as well. Fadwa, thanks so much for coming into studio. One of the WhatsApps come through that says, and I'll paraphrase, is where they remember an incident that happened in school, where back then, and like you said, options were very limited because of apartheid and whatever other reasons that was going on in the country, and they wanted to pursue a sports career. But their guidance counselor, remember, do we still get guidance counselors?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I think they're called something else now. Said, no, you can't pursue that because it's not a job that pays. Now, that obviously stifled that person's dreams, career, path, that type of thing. But yes, it may have been a moment in time that wasn't meant for them.
Yes.
How would you handle a situation like that when a client comes to you and says, I had this experience when I was young. It's always been at the back of my mind, and for whatever reason, I've always still wanted to pursue it.
Did you know that most people going through depression, the root of their depression is because they're not living their calling, right? First of all. So let's say that viewer went through that with a teacher, spoke him or her out of that, right? We need to ask that person in today's life and time, if we can reply, I'm not sure if we can reply, or maybe she's listening or he's listening, to say that, is that still part of your thought process? Does it still pop in your mind about the swimming, about that? Is it popping up? So if it is, then you must know you need to still pursue it.
Yeah.
So there's different ways. Maybe yes, you're too old now. If you perhaps, I'm not sure of the age. Let's say hypothetically she could be, or he could be
40s. Let's
in
say
the 40s, right?
Yeah.
Let's say 40s. And then if you can't be a professional swimmer at this age, there's opportunities for you to be a coach.
Yep.
There's opportunities for you to open up your own school. But then you will still do it. You will still do your passion.
You'll be part of that.
Yes, and be part of that and still have that passion. Because you see, here's the thing, when I speak about people, or when I ask somebody, what would you like to do? Then they say, oh no, I want to be that because of the money. The first thing I tell them is, don't do it for the money.
Do it for your passion.
For the passion. Because when you do it for your passion, when you love what you do, the
You
money
wouldn't work
falls
a day
into
in your
place.
life.
Exactly. I'm loving on both ends. My opulence business and my coaching business and my work, kinesiology. I'm loving both. When I work, I don't ever feel like I'm working. The money's a bonus. If it wasn't for the money that we needed to live, to pay for living here on earth, then I'd have probably done it free.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I always advise anyone, don't do it for the money. Look what happened in COVID.
Absolutely.
We couldn't earn.
Yeah, it was a life lesson for a lot of us
exactly.
to actually also look at other opportunities that we can tap into. And I think that's where people found their skill set. They had to sort of do that soul searching skill set and see, okay, my passion is maybe, going to carpentry or working on cars or whatever the case may be, or, going and doing a legal degree. Whatever. But people pursued that because they had time to reflect.
Have you seen how many businesses popped up in the time of COVID?
Oh,
because
yes.
we went
Isn't
survival
it amazing?
mode. And look at this business are still thriving.
Alhamdulillah.
People started home industries. They started sewing. They started creating things because they needed to become creative.
Yeah.
Because everything else was. So the blessing of that is there's a lot of people that started something and it's still going and thriving.
100%.
Right?
We've got the WhatsApp line open if you'd like to communicate with us. 079 085 2511. Let us know if you have any questions you'd like to pose to Fadwa, and we can definitely direct them. You can remain anonymous. We don't have to repeat your name at all. And let us know exactly how you feel about today's topic as well. Fadwa, do you often have your clients say, is there more to life? Yes. Do you often hear this question come up?
Yes.
And what would be your answer to that?
So what will happen is you will go through a dark night of the soul. I call it that, or what they speak out there in the healing industry, the dark night of the soul. So then you'll feel like, why am I here on earth? That's the one question. Mm-hmm. Because now the calling has come up. Mm-hmm. You're going to question stuff. Mm-hmm. You're going to question, am I happy? Mm-hmm. My surroundings, my environment, does this make me happy? How does this make me feel, first of all? Secondly is there more? Because now you're going to start questioning. Once you start questioning religion especially, you're going to open up a rabbit hole, a deep rabbit hole. And it's going to be so amazing because, when you're going through all these things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knocking you. Yeah. He's breaking your heart. You're going to go through stuff. Whatever you're going to put first in your life, He's going to test you with it. Right. So let's say you put education first and your studies first. He's going to test you with that. He's going to make you come to a point where you're going to be knocked that you can't pass an exam, and then you're going to not be able to open up your books. Why? Because you need to come down to Him and rely on Him first before you rely on your books. Same with love. If you're putting the person that you're in love with on the pedestal, that person is going to hurt you, break your heart into little pieces. Why? Because Allah needs to be first. Your children, your workspace, how you earn your money, that's how we're going to be tested. So now let's say you're in that space where you are, Allah's knocking you. He's going to bring you down to your knees. Why is that? He's not wanting to do that to tear you apart, to hurt you unnecessarily. He's doing that for you to question yourself. Is there more to life? Am I working for my akhirah? Am I doing things to represent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here on earth? Am I doing my calling? Because now the calling is going to come up more and more. Am I doing my calling? And then He's going to perhaps give you an illness. You can look at your health. Because once you're in an illness situation, like let's say somebody's going through cancer or some chronic disease, you are going to question,
why is it happening to me?
Why is it happening to me? Because first you're going to go, why me? Right? Like I think of Pinocchio when that song comes up, right? Why me? But then you need to change it and say, try me. Okay, so now I've got a challenge. What am I going to do? Because the minute you overcome the challenge, you become a testimonial for that challenge. And somebody else is going to go through it. So the minute you start learning to heal, it is imperative of you to spread that healing. Because now you're going to teach somebody else and say, you're going through it now. This is how I did it, and maybe my steps can help you.
Yeah. So we covered when society gets involved, when family gets involved, and we say, okay, maybe I shouldn't. I've got all these challenges in my head. But there's the adverse side to that as well, where we tend to want to please. For example, if I come from a family of doctors, I'm pushed to now become a doctor. And I mean this with no disrespect to doctors or any industry for that matter. My father was a fashion designer, mom was a fashion designer, and now I'm pushed to become a fashion designer as well. That people-pleasing process, that also happens.
Yes.
Do you find that a lot?
Yes, in most companies, in most families, especially when there's a family business, yes. And then what I do is I tell the person, break the mold. And then they're too scared to do it. Because what they do is a parent sometimes tell them, if you're going to step out of this business, you're on your own. Then they dangle that money story. You must remember, money comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your rizq is already written. Yeah. You're not going to get a cent more, cent less, and you're going to get it at the appointed time. So whether it's coming through your mother or your father, or whether it's coming through the postman, they are just the postman basically to get your rizq to you. Right? So people forget this. Now they think that if I'm going to walk out of the business, then my father's going to disown me, because normally in some Malay communities, in Indian communities, they threaten their kids to disown if they're not going to be part of the business. Right? They threaten this disownment part. So you need to ask yourself, where does my rizq come from?
People have been disowned for less, for not returning Tupperware even.
Really?
I've heard. I've returned all my Tupperware. But that's what happens. We get pushed into a corner I'm making light of the situation, but you know, we get pushed into a corner sometime by family dynamics.
Yes.
Because we need to behave in a certain way. But rightfully, when that calling comes, it's not always what your family or society would like you to do.
No, because you need to ask yourself, am I going to be happy? The family member's not always going to be around you.
Yeah.
That family member's judging you's got their own life. And when you're sitting alone crying, are they coming to wipe your tears? If you've got bills to pay, are they coming and asking you, what can I pay for you this month? So I've got this thing where if you're not paying my bills, you don't have a right over my life, or you don't have a right to say. And you get some people that gave snide remarks, and something that I want, I'm so daring to say this to somebody, like, okay, must give me your banking details, and say, for what? And say, so I can put my debit orders on your name, you know? Because the thing is, it's all their judgment. They're coming out of fear. And are they doing it out of fear, or are they doing it out of, why must you get something right if I wasn't able to do that? Yes. So I must stop you as well, because I was maybe stopped. So it depends on what,
the situation
from what place they're coming from. Are they coming from a place of really wanting the best for you, or are they coming from a place of their own hurt? Because remember, hurt people hurt people.
Oh yes, I've heard that.
Right? So are they coming from a space of hurt? Are they coming from a space of, you need to decipher that, but their life has got nothing to do with you. Your calling's got nothing to do with them either, because when you were called, it was your calling. It wasn't a conference call.
That's a nice one.
You know?
Okay, we're going to continue this conversation next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
But how do people get hold of you if they'd like to attend one of your courses, if they'd like private sessions? What are the best methods? Best
method, Instagram and Facebook. I do post the upcoming workshop. The Sunday I'll be having workshop 1. So you can look at Fadwa Booley on Instagram and the same on Facebook.
For the gram, okay, on the gram. Yes. Fantastic. Fadwa, jazakallah so much for coming into studio, educating us. We encourage our viewers to be part of the show next week. If Fadwa will be back, we're going to continue. We've got so much more to do in this topic, inshallah. Have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
And that's the Soul series on a Wednesday, the first part of Hilaal Live. Next up, we have Yusuf Khan Dalwai, and a very interesting topic today. We're speaking, last month was Wills Month, and we're chatting about that, especially Sharia compliant wills. If you'd like to know more, we'll have the WhatsApp line open as well. You can ask Yusuf some of the questions, and he'll try his level best to answer that. You are still watching Hilaal Live.